Welcome to the Hare Krishna Temple of Austin. We are starting our program with Kirtan by His Grace, Abhay Kulkarni Prabhu. And over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Amine Namo Vishnu Pada Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashata Deshanarine Namaste Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Sri
Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Sri Krishna
Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Ram
Oh,
Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Prabhupada,
Prabhupada,
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Nitai Gaura Haribol, Haribol,
Haribol,
Haribol, Nitai Gaura Haribol,
Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol.
Gaura Premanande, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna devotees, please come forward. Thank you all for coming. Today is a very special day. We have a special program today. It's also Ekadashi. Wish you all a happy Ekadashi. We're very happy that Her Grace Prabhupada Priya Mataji is here with us today. A brief about Mataji. She's a renowned teacher in ISKCON with over 3 decades of experience, is known for her deep and insightful classes that present Vedic scriptures in a practical way. She serves as education director at Krishna House and was teaching at Sri Mayapur International School. She serves as a course instructor for Shastric studies across ISKCON. In addition to her instructional role, she holds the position of zonal supervisor for Texas. And we have heard from Mataji before. She's amazing. The way she narrates the stories, the pastime, she takes us into the pastimes and the lessons that we can learn. So it's so amazing to have her. With that, let's welcome her with a loudly chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra one time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much, Mataji, for coming.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo. Jai. So welcome everyone today to evening's program. This matches you better. You should wear it. It goes perfectly with your outfit. So nice to be here. Actually, when I was singing Jai Radha Madhava and you were all singing so enthusiastically and so sweetly, I was really feeling like I was in Vrindavan, sitting in one of those very sweet temples amongst all the Brajbasis, and I just got that mood. So all glories to your pure consciousness and your sweet ways of expressing bhakti. And thank you, Satyasar Prabhu, for inviting me today and for bringing this assembly of devotees together for Katha. So today we'll be looking at a section from the 11th canto. Does this need to be switched on, or because I think it's connected? It'll be 11th canto, chapter 5. Oh, good, thank you. Text 31 to 36. Hopefully we get through that. And it's within this section of verses, it's actually the second one that we'll read, that predicts the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Kali Yuga. So yeah, if you have devices, you can follow along. Otherwise, I'll have all the verses up here too. So, but actually, I want to look back at why these verses are being spoken here in the Bhagavatam. Well, first, let's do our invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai. All right, now we are ready. So yeah, we're covering 11, 5, 31 to 32. I'll just go back for context. I'll go back to text 20 here, which is, this is a conversation between King Nimi and the 9 Yogendras. And the Yogendra that's going to be speaking in our section is Karabhajana Muni. So Nimi's inquiring, he's asking, in what colors and forms does the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is not this verse, this is another one. In what colors and forms does the Supreme Personality of Godhead appear in each of the different ages? And with what names and what types of regulative principles is the Lord worshipped in human society? So he's curious. There's different ages, different yugas, right? Do you know what the 4 yugas are? Okay, very good. And in each one of those yugas, there's a different incarnation of the Lord, and there's also a different process for worshiping the Lord in that incarnation. So Sri Karabhajana Muni is going to answer the question. He's going to describe that in Satya Yuga, this is the incarnation of the Lord. This is what he looks like. This is how the people worship him. And then he'll offer some prayers and glorification of that form. And then he goes through, does the same for Treta Yuga, the same for Dwapar Yuga. And then he comes to Kali Yuga. So that's where we're going to start here is text 31, is his description of the incarnation of for Kali Yuga. So we can read the Sanskrit together here. Iti dwapara urvisha stuvanti jagadishvaram nana tantra vidanena kalav api tatashrinu. O king, in this way people in Dwapar Yuga glorified the Lord of the universe. In Kali Yuga also people worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by following various regulations of the revealed scriptures. Now kindly hear of this from me. So yeah, the first part of the verse is summarizing that, yeah, this is how they worship. He had just described how they worshipped him in Dwapar Yuga, so this is how they did. And in Kali Yuga also, people worship the Lord. So the Acharyas make a lot of commentaries on these verses. And the last 2 lines, because those are the ones pertaining to Kali Yuga, are the, Hare Krishna Maji. Those are the ones that we'll focus on a little bit and expand. So, yeah, so the first thing is kalo api, right? Kalav api tata shrinu. So api means also. And so they're saying in Kali Yuga also. Now, why is it also? Why would they say also? What do you think? Already established, but he's saying it's in Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga, and then it's kind of like, and even in Kali Yuga also. Right? Because in Bhagavatam, we have descriptions of how bad it is in Kali Yuga, right? How fallen, how degraded, how perverse, how difficult it is in Kali Yuga. And so he's saying, And even in Kali Yuga, the Lord comes too. He also comes in Kali Yuga. So this is something that's brought out, that is surprising. It's actually amazing that anyone worships the Lord in Kali Yuga, right? When we are Manda, Sumanda, Mateo, Manda, Bhagya, we're lazy. Our lives are short, first of all, and we're lazy, unlucky, misguided, and above all, always disturbed, right? Everyone disturbed in Kali Yuga. So it's amazing that anybody's able to muster up the piety and the faith and the trust and the time to worship the Lord. But yep, Kali Yuga also, even in Kali Yuga. So that's one meaning of this Kala Api. And another is that it's surprising actually that the Lord does appear in Kali Yuga, because in some places in the scriptures, the Lord is called Tri Yuga. And Tri Yuga means he appears in 3 yugas, but there are 4 yugas. So we know that he appears in the first 3 yugas, but if he's just called Tri Yuga, then it looks like he maybe doesn't appear in the 4th yuga. So it's kind of surprising that he appears in Kali Yuga, because wait, that's the 4th yuga and he's Tri Yuga. So no, Kalav Api, he also appears in Kali Yuga. And but he appears in a covered form. So we'll get to that. He doesn't appear in a way that people understand that he's the Supreme Lord, but he is the Lord and he does come. And then one of our acharyas, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, says that this Api here indicates a particular Kali Yuga after Krishna's appearance. So, so it's not that in every Kali Yuga that the Lord himself appears, right? Because there's always a Yuga avatar for every age that teaches the Yuga Dharma, but it's not the Yuga avatar is not necessarily an incarnation of the Lord. It can be a Shakti Avesha avatar, right? So he's saying that not every Kali Yuga that the Lord himself appears, but in this special Kali Yuga, there's a special Kali Yuga that's after a special Dwapar Yuga in which Krishna appears. Because Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma. Yeah, and that's a very, very long time. Does anybody know how many years is in a day? 311 trillion years. So that's a very long time. And when Krishna appears, we have to wait another 311 trillion years before he's going to come back again. And in that 311 trillion years, there's cycles of many, many Satya Yugas, Treta Yugas, Dwapara Yugas, and Kali Yugas. There are 1,000 cycles of them, right? And so in 999 cycles of the 4 yugas, Krishna doesn't appear. Some other incarnation comes in the place of Krishna, right? And also in 999 Kali Yugas, just the Yuga avatar comes. But there's one out of 1,000 Kali Yugas that Krishna actually comes personally in Kali Yuga in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Yeah, so this is what we're going to talk about, this special incarnation of this age. And this is a verse from the 7th canto, where Prahlad Maharaj also predicts the descent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he says, Channa Kalo. Well, first he says Dharmam Mahapurusha Pashi Yuganu Vritash. So he's saying that this Mahapurusha, not just any Purusha, not just any personality, but the Mahapurusha. In other words, the Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. And in this, but he's covered. He's in a covered form. So Channa Kalo in Kali Yuga, he's covered, and that's why he's called Tri Yuga. It says here, right? In this age of Kali, however, you do not assert yourself as the supreme personality of Godhead, and therefore you are known as Tri Yuga, or the Lord who appears in 3 yugas. Thus, it is understood that it is difficult for common people in Kali Yuga to recognize the incarnation of the Lord, since in this age the Lord's appearance is slightly concealed. So, yeah, this is something that if even people who are followers of Sanatan Dharma, who are, have faith in the Vedic culture and follow the traditions of Vedic culture or Hinduism or even Vaishnavism, many people are not able to recognize Lord Chaitanya as the Lord. They think, they may know about Lord Chaitanya, but they might think, he was a great saint, or he was a social reformer, or, he was some kind of amazing personality, but they don't understand that he's actually the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even beyond that, he's not just an incarnation of Krishna. Like there are so many incarnations, like Lord Ramachandra, Lord Nrsingadev, Varaha, Kurma. There's so many incarnations. Lord Vishnu. He's not just an incarnation. He is Krishna, the original Swayam Bhagavan, fountainhead of all incarnations, Krishna himself, coming for confidential reasons. And then while he's here, he also propagates the Yuga Dharma of chanting the holy names of the Lord. But because Lord Chaitanya comes, Krishna comes as Lord Chaitanya, wanting to experience what it's like to be a devotee, then he doesn't present himself as the Lord. He wants to experience what it's like to serve the Lord, because it's something that as the Lord is the only thing that he doesn't know, right? Even though he knows everything, the Lord is omniscient by definition, but there's one thing that he doesn't know, and that is the happiness that his devotees feel by serving him, right? And the love that they feel when they see him and feel his loving reciprocation. And all the ways that their hearts stir, when they see him, when they think of him, when they interact with him. And so he wants to experience that love, that feeling. He wants to appreciate his own beauty like that. So in order for him to experience that, he has to come in the form of a devotee and fully in the consciousness of a devotee. He doesn't like it when people even remind him that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he covers himself, he conceals so that no one talks about it. Okay? So, but he comes in Kali. So let's go to the other line in the end of that first verse, which is Nana Tantra Vidanena, which literally means by the regulations of various tantras. Yeah, so Nana means various, Tantra means the tantras. We'll get to that. And Vidanena means the vidhi, the rules and regulations. So, so Veda means knowledge, right? The Vedas are the books of knowledge, especially Vedas contain all kinds of knowledge, material, spiritual, and everything. It's all comprehensive, all-inclusive knowledge. But there's a lot in the Vedas, and even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the Vedas deal mainly with the subject matter of the three modes of material nature. There's a lot of materialistic knowledge in the knowledge of how to perform various rituals for material gain and things like that. So, but Vedanta, Anta means the end, right? Like we have Antya Lila, that's the end of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. So Vedanta means the end or the conclusion of all knowledge. And then Vedanta Sutras, that's the book, Brahma Sutra, Vedanta Sutra, that includes or encompasses the end of knowledge, that has all these aphorisms. And the word sutra means thread, right? So they're like threads. The Vedanta Sutras are like threads that they're very small, right? They're very concise, but there's so much in them. They need to be unpacked to understand them. So all these threads are there. And then the word tantra, because we're talking about nana tantra vidanena. Tantra, I looked up the etymology of the Sanskrit word tantra, and it actually means a loom. It means a loom that you use to weave cloth, right? Like you make gamshas and saris and dhotis on a loom. And what do you use for weaving? Threads, right? And if you look very closely at your sari or dhoti or any piece of woven cloth, you'll see there's so many threads going this way and threads going that way, and they're interwoven, and they do that on the loom. So what the tantras do is that they weave the threads of the Vedic conclusions, or these sutras of Vedanta Sutra, into something practical. Because if you have a pile of threads, what are you going to do with those threads? You can't do much. But if you weave them into cloth, then you can do so many things, so many varieties of practical things. So the tantras, they attempt to make the conclusions of Vedic knowledge presentable and in a practical way, in a way that can be applied, right? So, and of course, there are all kinds of tantras, and usually we don't talk about the tantras very much, because a lot of usually the connotation with tantras is it's kind of like black magic or some like dark, like incantations and things like that. But here in Bhagavatam, it's saying that in Kali Yuga, Nana Tantra Vidanena, that these things are important, that the Lord is worshipped in Kali by the regulations of various tantras. So the acharyas say that in Vaishnavism, the scriptures in the tantra category are mainly the pancharatras. Okay, so let's look at what are the pancharatras. And Srila Prabhupada talks about pancharatras in some of his purports. In Chaitanya Charitamrita is this one, where he tells us that the pancharatras are spoken by the Lord, so they come from the Lord, and they're propagated by various saints, like Narada. There's the Narada Pancharatra and Vyas. So these are our acharyas. These are Mahajanas, right, that teach us about bhakti. And the Pancharatras present it in a very practical way. And then in Srimad Bhagavatam, particularly, Prabhupada writes that the Pancharatras are very practical and suitable for Kali Yuga, and that they're more important than Vedanta in this age, and that the Pancharatras emphasize chanting Hare Krishna and deity worship. Right? So all of our rules and regulations for worshipping the deity that pujaris follow, they all come from the Pancharatras. So it's very practical like that. So the things that are emphasized in the Pancharatras are deity worship and the chanting of the holy name. So there's this nice quotation from the Narada Pancharatra that all mantras and all processes for self-realization are compressed into the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So it's very specific. And this is very practical. And you're not going to get that from reading Vedanta Sutra, right? Because Vedanta Sutra is philosophical, whereas Pancharatras are practical. So in Kali Yuga, people can't understand philosophy. It's very difficult. People don't have the intelligence. Remember, people are too lazy to study it. And then even if they do study it, they're misguided. They'll be misled into like a wrong interpretation, some Mayavadi interpretation or something like that. And then even if they get the right understanding, they're too disturbed to understand how to put it into action, right? Or life is too short to like figure it out. Yes. They forget everything. Yeah, the end of Kali Yuga is pretty bad. But fortunately, we're still in the beginning. So we have a chance. We have to make use of this because we don't want to take birth again and end up at the end of Kali Yuga still here on this planet, right? Good. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, so we really have to take this seriously. So in Kali Yuga, people need things that are practical. They need to know, like, don't bother me with too much philosophy. Just tell me what we need to do to get the job done, right? This world is terrible. We need to understand how to get free from the cycle of birth and death. We have to know who is the person to worship, how to worship them. It has to be really easy because, don't make it too difficult. We need everything for dummies, right? Now they have this whole series of books, electronics for dummies and publishing a book for dummies and, everything, cooking for dummies. And so the Pancharatras are like, they're like a spiritual life for dummies, so don't worry about it. You don't need to study too much. You don't need to read too many books. You just chant Hare Krishna and worship the deity. You'll be fine. Right? So this is what it's saying here, that Nana Tantra Vidanena. But then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives a different interpretation here of Nana Tantra Vidanena. He says, I'm not sure how he gets this, but this is what he says, that this also means by a secret or esoteric method. And then back to the other line, Kalav api tata shrinu. So he combines these. He says that in Kali, people worship the Lord by a very secret or esoteric method. And so listen, because now we're going to know what the secret is. So Karabhajana Muni is saying this. He's saying that in Kali Yuga, things are a little different, right? The Lord is not recognized so easily. Vedanta Sutra is not studied. We need practical books. And the Lord is worshipped by a very secret method. So listen very carefully because I'm going to tell you about this great, great secret. So then he tells us in the next verse, which is this one. Krishna Varna Tvisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Sumeda Saha. Raise your hand if you knew this verse already. This is a very famous verse because this is like the main verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that mentions Lord Chaitanya specifically. Not directly, but specifically. So in the age of Kali, intelligent people, perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. So we're also going to unpack this a little bit, line by line. So let's go through this. I kind of nerded out on these verses getting into the Sanskrit, but it's sort of fun. So that's good. It's good to really unpack these and, understand what's being said. So Krishna Varna Twisha Krishnam. So Akrishnam. Akrishnam means not black. And there's two different ways of understanding the purport here of Akrishnam in this verse. So one thing is that Krishna is black, but this incarnation is not black, even though he's Krishna. Or you could understand it this way, that the Yuga avatar for Kali Yuga is usually black. It's described like that in other places, that when normally the incarnation for the age of Kali is black in color. But this person who came in Kali Yuga, this incarnation, is not black. So there's something very special about this incarnation, that he's the Yuga avatar for Kali Yuga, who's usually black, but he's not black. And he's Krishna, but he's not, who's black, but he's not black. Okay? So, yeah. The picture here is the different, the Yuga avatars for the different. So this Yuga, the last Yuga avatar there, the Kali Yuga one, we can see he's there in the middle and he's with his associates, right? Just like the verse says. But this is Lord Chaitanya is a special. This is the 999 Yuga avatars that come in Kali Yuga. They're like this. They're blackish like Krishna. Well, blue, but Krishna's also blue, but we say blackish. But this particular one that appears in this distinct Kali Yuga, this unique Kali Yuga, is not black. Okay. And yet he's Krishna Varnam. So Krishna Varnam means in the same category as Krishna. Just like we have Chatur Varna Maya Shrishtam, right? We have the four Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So those are categories or classes of people in society. So Krishna Varna means the same class as Krishna, the same category as Krishna. And then there's this nice song that Jai Gora, say Krishna, say Jagannath, right? That he who is Gora is he who is Krishna, is he who is Jagannath. They're all one personality, not different. And then another meaning of Krishna Varnam comes from the Sanskrit word Varnayati, which means to say, to utter, to describe, which means that he's always speaking about Krishna, or he's always literally speaking Krishna, saying the word Krishna, chanting the name of Krishna. So this is Lord Chaitanya. He's Krishna, in the same category as Krishna, although he's not blackish like Krishna, but he's always chanting the holy name of Krishna. And by not black, we know that he must be, which color? Golden. And why do we know that? Okay, that's another thing. But remember when at Krishna's birth, when Garga Muni came and he was doing the horoscope of Krishna, then he was saying, Nanda Maharaj, this child is very wonderful, and he appears in every age. Right? He says he comes in a whitish form, he comes in a red form, he comes in a blackish form like now, and he also comes in a yellow. He says those four colors. There are many incarnations with different colors, but Garga Muni specifically mentions that white, red, black, and yellow. So, and for the four yugas. And so because this is Kali Yuga, then this is the golden, this is the yellow or golden color. And the Acharyas explain it like that. Okay, and then Sango Pangastra Parshadam. These are all the different things or people that he brings with him or has with him. So Sa Anga means limb. And so he has, his associates are so close to them, they're like his very limbs of his body. Right? Your limbs of the body are your arms and legs. They do your work for you. Right? With your arms, you get things done. So Lord Chaitanya's devotees are his devotees are fulfilling his mission for him. So they're like his limbs. But sometimes, if you have someone who's very close, like a business partner, like a secretary, or, you're the CEO of the business, but you have a partner here who works very closely with you, then it's called your right-hand man. It's like your right arm. It's like a limb of your body that person is so useful to you, gets so many things done. So that's Sa-anga, his associates. And then there's Upanga. So the Upa Angas are the ones who are near. Upa means to be near. But Sa Anga means to be with. So they're the ones that are with him. And this picture is nice because it shows kind of like an inner circle and then an outer circle. So the Sa Anga, the ones that are right close with him, they're the inner circle. And then there's the Upanga, the ones that are near. They're also near, but they're not right with him. So they're his servants. And then we'll just skip that third one for now. Parshadam means his confidential companions. So then there are some that are very, very close, that are confidential, that he shares his innermost secrets and his thoughts and feelings, right? Like Gadadhar, like Nityananda, like, what's that? Ramananda Roy, like that, who really understand his heart. Like Rupa Goswami and Swarup Damodar, who were with him at Jagannath Puri as he was pouring out his transcendental emotions, and they were understanding and supporting him through that, all that. So those are the Parshadam. And then Astra means his weapons. So what is Lord Chaitanya's weapon? Does he have a sword? Bow and arrow? Chakra? Hare Krishna. Okay, so one weapon is the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is a really good weapon, and he gives us all this weapon, right? We're all armed and dangerous with this weapon. We're all great dangers to Maya, or Kali, the personification of Kali, because whenever we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, then Maya goes far away, runs away, flees, and retreats out of fear of the potency of this mantra. But there's another weapon too that the acharyas talk about in the purport there. Anyone know what it is? Amia? His beauty. Yeah, that Lord Chaitanya's beauty is so overwhelming that it just disarms people. You know, he just defeats them. They see him and their heart, he's so beautiful, so charming, that their hearts just melt and they just surrender to him. Like that. So, yeah, his beauty and the holy name. So these are the things that he comes with. All right, and then what is the secret method for worshiping Lord Chaitanya that was mentioned in the verse before? Sankirtan, Yagya is Sankirtana prayer. So Yagya means the sacrifice, and Sankirtan means chanting the holy names congregationally, right? That prefix sang means sangha. It means doing kirtan with others, and that becomes the perfect kirtan. So prayer means mostly. So mostly. We also do other things, right? Like we also hear Srimad Bhagavatam. That's also a way of worshipping Lord Chaitanya, because he instructed us to do that. We also worship Radha and Krishna deities, and we worship the Acharya, worship Srila Prabhupada, because these are all things that Lord Chaitanya taught us. We offer our food to Krishna. But the main thing, the process that accompanies all other processes, is Sankirtan, right? When we worship the deity, we do kirtan. When we are having a festival, we do kirtan. Before Bhagavatam class, we do some kirtan, right? When we worship the Acharya, we do kirtan, right? Every morning we do Guru Puja to Prabhupada, and then we follow it with Hare Krishna Kirtan. So, our main process is kirtan, although we do a few other things too, which we do with kirtan. So, and when the kirtan is there, then everything is perfect. That's the main thing. Okay, and then what kind of people worship him? Yajanti hi sumedhasaha. People who are very intelligent. Yeah, so medha means intelligence. And it specifically means the kind of intelligence which is the intelligence of the heart, right? As opposed to the intelligence of the brain. So there are two different kinds of intelligence. There's buddhi and there's medhi. So buddhi is like a rational, analytical intelligence, the intelligence of the jnanis, by which they, study their philosophy and speculate on things and argue with each other and try to come to the conclusive truth by using their buddhi, by using their intelligence. But to become a follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requires medhi, requires intelligence that comes from the heart, like that the intelligence that is not dry, that's full of feeling, that's accompanied by love, right? That when you see a person and you actually have love for them, then you know exactly what to do, right? Because love dictates what's required in the situation, right? When a mother sees her child distressed, she immediately knows what to do. She doesn't need to think about it. She doesn't need to go consult some parenting manual because the heart gives the intelligence, is the feeling is there. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, he translates Sumedhasaha as splendid intelligence. This is a kind of intelligence that's it's bright, it's luminous, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. So, Sumedhasaha. So everybody who's in this room now is Sumedhasaha, is very intelligent and has the right kind of intelligence, that very heartfelt, very rich intelligence, full of love, that also melts the heart of the Lord. And that's why he likes when we worship him with feeling, with this kind of intelligence, because Lord Chaitanya himself is all about feeling. Right? And that's why he came, is to feel the feelings of the devotees. So he really appreciates that. Okay. So now we're going to go to the next verses. Now Karabhajana Muni is going to, having described the incarnation of the Lord, and you'll notice something interesting about this section. In the previous sections, if we would have read those, you'll see that he describes what the Lord looks like. He describes the process for worshiping the Lord. And he also gives the names by which people address the Lord. But in this section, we don't get, we get a little bit about what he looks like. We just find out that he's not blackish. He doesn't exactly say what he is, what color he is. He just said he's not black. The Lord comes and he's not black. Okay. All right. That could be a lot of things, right? And then he doesn't give the name either. And all the other, he gives many names. Oh, people call him Vasudeva, they call him Krishna, they call him this, they call him that. Here he doesn't give any name because it's Chana. In Kali Yuga, it's the Chana avatar. He's concealed. So Shukadeva Goswami, Karabhajana Muni, they're sticking to this desire of the Lord to remain concealed, because Bhagavatam was compiled 5,000 years ago, and Lord Chaitanya came 500 years ago. So this was before the advent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at least in this, cycle of yugas. So they didn't want to spill the beans, they didn't want to spoil Lord Chaitanya's gig, and what he wanted to accomplish in this age. So they couldn't reveal that this is Lord Chaitanya that we're talking about. But devotees know, and the acharyas shine the torchlight of illumination on these verses for us. So now Karabhajana Muni is going to offer prayers to this amazing form of the Lord. So here, what's the meter here? Oh, this is Brahma Samhita. We can say this together. Yeyam sada paribhavagnam abhishtadoham tirtaspadam shiva virinchinutam sharanyam Brityartiham pranatapala bhavabdipotam Vande Mahapurushate Charanarvindam. Right? It's like the Guru Vastika, Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam, except it's Vande Mahapurushate Charanarvindam. So we're offering our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Mahapurusha. Actually, in the word-for-word translation in Bhagavatam, it says Mahapurusha means Mahaprabhu. So Srila Prabhupada and the acharyas and BBT commentators and translators, they give us the insight that this Mahapurusha that we're talking about is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, but in the translation, they write Mahapurusha. So, my dear Lord, you are the Mahapurusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I worship your lotus feet, which are the only eternal object of meditation. Those feet destroy the embarrassing conditions of material life and freely award the greatest desire of the soul, the attainment of pure love of Godhead. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the shelter of all holy places and of all saintly authorities in the line of devotional service, and are honored by powerful demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. My Lord, you are so kind that you willingly protect all those who simply bow down to you with respect, and thus you mercifully relieve all the distress of your servants. In conclusion, my Lord, your lotus feet are actually the suitable boat for crossing over the ocean of birth and death, And therefore, even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva seek shelter at your lotus feet. So, we're praying to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. And Karabhajamuni is giving some of the benefits. He's giving a list here of all the benefits that come to us when we take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. And how we take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, first of all, is by dhyayam sada, by meditating always on those lotus feet, by meditating on Lord Chaitanya. And the acharyas say that this is achieved by chanting the holy names of the Lord. So when we chant the holy names of the Lord, we can meditate on the Lord. And then when we meditate on the Lord in that way by chanting the holy names, by the process of Nam Sankirtan, then paribhava ganam, all troubles are destroyed. Abhishta doham, the true desire of the soul is fulfilled. Tirthaspadam, any place becomes a holy place of pilgrimage. Right? So like right here, I was just feeling that, right? That here we are together, chanting the holy names together, coming to hear about Krishna, and it feels like Vrindavan. Feels like we're here in Vraj. So this place becomes a holy place of pilgrimage. And then so much so that Shiva Virinchi Nutam Sharanyam, that Lord Shiva and Brahma also bow down to Lord Chaitanya in full surrender. And we see that in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then continuing, Prityartiham, you relieve the distress of your servants. Pranatapala, you protect those who offer you pranams or respect. Bhavabdi potam, you transport your devotees across the ocean of birth and death. So Vande Mahapurushate Charanaravindam. O Mahaprabhu, I offer my obeisances to your lotus feet. So, yeah. So here Karabhajamuni is careful, again, to not be too revealing. And that's why he just says Mahapurusha. He keeps it very vague, very nebulous, right? Because Lord Chaitanya wants to be covered. And so, his devotees speak about him indirectly in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the next verse, he continues to glorify the Lord, and he continues to do so indirectly. Well, the next verse is very, this is the verse that I was thinking I'll spend the whole lecture on this verse, but I thought let's put it in context here. Text 34, because he glorifies the Lord as, he indirectly speaks about the Lord, but he simultaneously establishes that Lord Chaitanya is the Lord. Right? So he doesn't exactly reveal, indirectly he reveals, and indirectly he also establishes the position of Lord Chaitanya as non-different from Krishna, and also non-different from Lord Ramachandra. So you're going to see how that all plays out here. But first let's recite the verse. So, Tyaktva sudusya jasurepsita rajya lakshmim Dharmishta Arya Vachasaya Ragad Aranyam Maya Mrigam Daita Yepsitam Anvadavad Vande Mahapurusha Te Charanardavindam. O Mahapurusha, I worship your lotus feet. You gave up the association of the goddess of fortune and all her opulence, which is most difficult to renounce, and is hankered after by even the great demigods. Being the most faithful follower of the path of religion, you thus left for the forest in obedience to a Brahmin's curse. Out of sheer mercifulness, you chased after the fallen conditioned souls, who are always in pursuit of the false enjoyment of illusion, and at the same time engaged in searching out your own desired object, Lord Shamasundar. So, according to the acharyas, this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam is understood to describe Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna, and also Lord Ramachandra. So we're going to see how that happens, and hopefully you're going to help me with this too. So, the first line, Tyaktva sudustya jasarep shitarajya lakshmi, means you gave up the association of the goddess of fortune and all her opulence, which is most difficult to renounce. So, how does this apply to Lord Ramachandra? I'm assuming that you know Ramayana, you're familiar with Ramayana a little bit. So, how does Lord Ramachandra give up the association of the goddess of fortune or all the opulence, giving up? Because Rajya Lakshmi. So Rajya also means the opulence of the kingdom. So what does Lord Ram, how does Lord Ram do that? He accepts his father's order to go into exile. So he gives up Ayodhya. He gives up the kingdom. And he was supposed to be the king. So he gives up that kingship. Yeah. And later also, he gave up Mother Sita, right, when there was some criticism. So he gave up Ayodhya and later also gave up Mother Sita. And Krishna, how does he give up opulence? Other way around. At least, I mean, you could argue that point. You'd have a strong argument there, I think. But the way the acharyas say is that he left Mathura. He gave up the opulence of Mathura and he went to the simple forest of Vrindavan. But it just depends on how you define opulence, right? Because some people could say, well, there's more opulence in Vrindavan because the love and all that. But as far as just like Rajya Lakshmi, kind of like a kingly sort of opulence, that's more in Mathura, right? Because that was the seat of the king. That was King Kamsa lived there, and King Ugrasen, and that's where it was very palatial and opulent, full of gardens and beautiful things. So Krishna was born there, but then he gave that up and he went to the very humble, simple village of Vrindavan to, walk barefoot on the grass and herd cows, like a simple cowherd boy. So that also applies to Krishna. And then how about Lord Chaitanya? In what way did he? He took sannyas, right? And he gave up the goddess of fortune, Vishnu Priya, who is actually literally an expansion of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. So he gave up his, he took sannyas and gave up Vishnu Priya. Okay, good. So that's the first line. And we can see how it applies to all three. Now we'll go to the next. Dharmish da arya vachasa yad agad aranyam. Being the most faithful follower of the path of religion, you thus left for the forest in obedience to a Brahman's curse. So here, this Brahman's curse could be confusing, but the actual Sanskrit says Arya. So Arya is not necessarily, it's not strictly speaking a Brahmin, but it's anybody who's an Arya, who's, a principled person, a civilized, exalted person. And Vachasa means words. So it's not necessarily a curse, but it could be a Brahman's curse, or it could be just the words of a very great, exalted, saintly personality. Okay? So Lord Ramachandra. Same thing, right? So whose words was it? Who was the Arya? Dasarath, Maharaj Dasharath. So Maharaj Dasharath was definitely an exalted person. And by his words, he accepted those words, being a faithful follower of religion, and he went to the forest of, which forest did he go to? Dandakaranya. Okay, good. And then Krishna. Somebody said some words and Krishna left for the forest. Yeah, it's a similar thing, that on the order of his parents, okay? He transferred himself to the forest village of Vrindavan. So, same thing. And then Lord Chaitanya. There's one pastime where he actually was cursed by a Brahmin. Yeah, the Brahmin who was, he wanted to go into the nocturnal kirtans, right? The Lord Chaitanya would have kirtans all night, every night at the house of Srivas Thakur. And then there was this Brahmin who was a brahmachari, the milk-drinking brahmachari, right? And the acharyas say here that he was actually he was kind of a grumpy person. He was kind of critical and grumpy, and that's why they didn't let him in. So he was going to spoil the mood of sweetness and all that in the kirtan. So when actually he snuck in one day, right? But then Lord Chaitanya detected his energy in the room. He said, what is this? There's somebody here who's not qualified. Somebody's disturbing the mood here. And then, oh, there's this they pulled the cloth, and there he was standing there. He's like, get him out of here. So the Brahmin became so angry being thrown out of the kirtan that he said, I curse you that you will never be able to enjoy material happiness. And Lord Chaitanya was, Haribo! Great, fantastic. You've given me a great blessing. So, yeah, this, because he was angry, because he was locked out of the nocturnal kirtan, this Brahmin cursed Lord Chaitanya. And soon after, Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. And he traveled through many forests as a sannyasi. He passed through the forest of Jarikanda and so many other forests later when he did his travels throughout South India as a sannyasi. Okay, and then the last one here. Maya mrigam dayita yep shitam anvadavad. Out of sheer mercifulness, you chased after the fallen souls who are always in pursuit of the false enjoyment of illusion, and at the same time engaged in searching out your own desired object. So this one, the acharyas give a very liberal interpretation of Maya Mrigam. So the way it's translated here is in pursuit of the false enjoyment of illusion. But you have to think of the different meanings of Maya and different meanings of Mrigam. So Mrigam can also mean animal, like Mrigari, the enemy of the animals, right? The hunter. So how do you think this might apply to Lord Ramachandra? Yes, good. The golden deer. So the golden deer was literally a Maya Mrigam, was an illusory animal. It wasn't really an animal. It was just a mystical creation by Marichi, right? So out of, affection for Sita, Ram chased the illusory deer, which was, then he also used this word ipsitam, means desire. So this is desired by Sita. And then Krishna. This is a hard one. I don't know if you're going to get this one, but think about it for a minute and see what comes to mind. What's that? No, but good guess. Good guess. Okay, I'm going to tell you here because this is a little esoteric. So, let's see. Okay. The words Maya Mrigam indicate a specialty Radharani and Sri Krishna. Maya also indicates the internal potency of Krishna, Yoga Maya. The original form of Krishna's internal potency is Srimati Radharani. So the idea is that Yoga Maya is one of Krishna's internal potencies, and the original in it, which expands from the original internal potency, who is Srimati Radharani. So here the word Maya is talking about the source of all energies, which is Srimati Radharani. Okay, so then how does the Mriga come in? We're going to find out. Due to the inconceivable love of Srimati Radharani, Lord Krishna becomes easily controlled by her. Thus, Mrigam, or animal, in this case indicates Krida Mrigam, or a toy animal. Just as a beautiful young girl may play with so many dolls or stuffed animals, similarly, Lord Krishna becomes just like a doll in the hands of the most beautiful young girl, Srimati Radharani. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, Srimati Radharani performed innumerable types of worship in order to bind Krishna more and more to her, because Srimati Radharani cannot live without Krishna. Thus, due to Srimati Radharani's aradhana, or worship, Krishna can never leave Vrindavan. And then there's also this word anvadavat, which means running. Davat means running. So Krishna runs here and there in Vrindavan, protecting the cows, playing with his friends, engaging in countless intrigues of love with Srimati Radharani and the gopis. Thus the word anvadavat indicates Krishna's boyish activities, his running throughout the transcendental land of Vrindavan, tightly under the control of the love of Srimati Radharani. So that's how it applies to Krishna. And then Lord Chaitanya. This one's easy from the translation. We can figure this one out. What is it? that it's the way it's been translated here, that out of mercifulness you chased after the fallen conditioned souls who are always in pursuit of false enjoyment of illusion. Yet that Lord Chaitanya was the most munificent incarnation, and his mission was to rescue the fallen souls from Maya. So these, people are like two-legged animals, right? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and not doing much more than that here in Kali Yuga. And actually a little worse than animals, because animals at least do what they're supposed to do, right? Like they eat the foods that they're supposed to eat. They mate in ways that they're supposed to mate. They sleep in situations that they're supposed to sleep in. But in Kali Yuga, human beings do even those things wrong in ways that are against the will of the Lord. So, so really, Lord Chaitanya, but out of his mercy, he came running. Andavad, he came running after these Maya, these animalistic people who are very much in Maya, and gave them the holy name. And another thing that he's not just chasing after the fallen conditioned souls, but he's also chasing after Krishna, Shama Sundar, right? In the mood of Srimati Radharani, always feeling separation from Krishna. So this verse is so by giving these different interpretations, which apply to Krishna and also apply to Lord Ramachandra and also apply to Lord Chaitanya, it's an indirect way of establishing that Lord Chaitanya is non-different from Krishna, is non-different from Lord Ramachandra, which means that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you can see how, the devotees very cleverly say things. They kind of say it without saying it. And then you just have to know. So that's why, we're so blessed by the acharyas, and we have to really, whenever we study scriptures, we have to very much take shelter of the explanations of the acharyas. And we're unlimitedly fortunate that Srila Prabhupada put so much time and energy and love into writing long, detailed purports. If you look at some of the comments of the acharyas, there are some verses where they'll comment a lot, and other verses where most verses, in fact, they'll just maybe write one line, like one sentence, and that sentence even it's just like a Sanskrit word meaning. It's often like a Sanskrit word meaning. 10th canto, there's more extensive commentaries, but most of the Bhagavatam, it's literally like no commentary or just 1-2 sentences like that. They don't really expand on it very much. Or they might just sort of like say the same thing that the verse is saying in another way. So it doesn't add a whole lot to it. But then Srila Prabhupada came and wrote long paragraph purports, multiple paragraph purports to practically every single verse in the Bhagavatam, so that we can understand how to apply it, and very practically. It's that mood of Nana Tantra Vidanena, that in Kali Yuga we need things to be made very practical for us. And so Srila Prabhupada, he wrote his purports in that way, right? In the style of Tantra, making the philosophy very operational, right? Operationalizing the philosophy for us so that we know how to apply it in our lives. And sometimes it's just so practical. Like Srila Prabhupada in his purports, he'll be talking about, so this verses says this, and therefore we need to establish varnashram, or we need to start gurukuls, we need to train Brahmins, we need to open temples, we need to distribute prasadam, like all these direct practical instructions come up here and there in the purports. And therefore I'm getting my disciples married, like all these things. And it's like all these very practical things that come up all the time in Prabhupada's purports. And we need to arrange mass congregational chanting of the holy names, right? So, Oh, and one last thing about this verse 34 is that because see, we're seeing how Lord Ramachandra, Lord Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya are all non-different. They're all the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so the acharyas end their comments by saying that this verse predicts a form of the Lord called Sadbhuj, the 6-armed form of the Lord that you see here, that You see, he has two arms that are green, and that's the arms of Lord Ramachandra, that he's holding a bow in one and an arrow in the other. And then there's two arms that are Krishna's, where he's holding his Venu, his flute. And then two arms of Lord Chaitanya, where he has the danda and the water pot. So this form is indicated by this verse. And there are temples where they have this deity of this Sadbhuj, beautiful Sadbhuj form. There's one very beautiful form in, we went with Vaisheshika Prabhu a couple of years on yatra to that place called Dandabanga, the place where Lord Nityananda broke the danda of Lord Chaitanya. And there's a beautiful deity of Sadbhuj there. Okay. So let's go on now to text 35. We'll do a couple more verses. Now I lost my melody. Is this Evam Yuganurupabhyam Bhagavan Yugavartibi Manujar Ijyate Rajan Shreyasam Ishvaro Hari. Thus, O king, so this is Karabhaja Muni talking to Maharaj Nimi. Thus, O king, the Supreme Lord Hari is the giver of all desirable benefits of life. Intelligent human beings worship the particular forms and names that the Lord manifests in different ages. So the idea here is that these are the forms that come in the different ages, and these are the processes by which they're worshipped. And people who are intelligent will worship these forms by these processes, right? So here we are in Kali Yuga, and the form of the Lord that we're supposed to worship is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's the worshipable deity for Kali Yuga, and the way to worship Mahaprabhu is chanting Hare Krishna. So why are we worshiping Radha and Krishna? Because Lord Chaitanya told us to, right? So we worship Lord Chaitanya by following his instructions. We also worship Gaura-Nitai, but we are called the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, right? We're not called the International Society for Chaitanya Consciousness, because Lord Chaitanya, although he is Krishna, he taught us, he came as a devotee of Krishna to teach us how to worship Krishna. And specifically, he taught us how to worship Radha Krishna. And that was a big mission of Lord Chaitanya. That it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Krishna came 5,000 years ago to perform his pastimes and to kill the demons and deliver the pious and reestablish the principles of religion, to demonstrate his whole Vraj Leela, Dwarka Leela, all of his pastimes to try to attract the minds of the fallen conditioned souls to go back home, back to Godhead. And then he wrapped up his pastimes and he went back to the spiritual world, right? Or he went to another universe to perform same or similar pastimes again for the same purpose, or both, right? So in any case, Krishna disappeared from the planet. So then in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a nice section, the Adi Lila, where Krishna's Kaviraj is describing how Lord Krishna was in the spiritual world and he was thinking. And he's thinking, it's been a while since I've been to the material world. And looking at what's going on down there, I'm not very satisfied, because everyone's just worshiping me in a mood of awe and reverence. They're just like, oh, dear Lord, please accept our offering, or like that, right? They're bowing, they're praying, they're worshiping in opulence. And the ways that they relate to me, this is Krishna thinking, the ways that they relate to me are mainly like in the lower rasas, in Shanta Ras and in Dasya Ras. It doesn't really go beyond that, right? So either they're just kind of standing back from me and just appreciating me from a distance with reverence, or maybe they're doing some service, right? But even the service is a little rare. Mainly it's, oh God, you're so great, you're so wonderful, you're so powerful, please be merciful to me, right? That's mainly the mood. So Krishna was not satisfied with that, because that's not Krishna's mood, right? That's the mood of Lord Vishnu. That's the mood with which you worship Lakshmi Narayan. But that's not the mood in which we worship Radha and Krishna, right? The mood of worshiping Radha and Krishna is how the Brajabasis worship Radha and Krishna, because that's their place, Vrindavan. So he said that if they just keep worshiping me like this, they're never going to make it back to Goloka Vrindavan. They have no chance of accessing the highest realm in the spiritual world. So that's very, very unfortunate that they just don't have the opportunity to ever come back to Goloka Vrindavan. So he said, I need to come again. I need to come again, and I need to teach them how to worship me in the higher rasas. I need to establish, Sakya ras, the mood of friendship, and Vatsalya ras, the mood of parental affection, and conjugal ras, the mood of love, like the gopis love Krishna. And I need to make that known. I need to make that something that people understand and they appreciate and they value, that they aspire for. And so he came as Lord Chaitanya. And he very widely propagated the worship of Radha and Krishna. And he came in the mood of Srimati Radharani, right? To understand Srimati Radharani's love. And he, he spoke about it. He spoke about these things. He spoke about Radharani's relationship with Krishna. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see so much about Radha's love for Krishna and how to understand that and how important it is to understand that. And he also very much promoted the Srimad Bhagavatam. He said that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the Amala Purana. Out of all the scriptures, this is the spotless. This is the Parama Praman. This is the supreme, the highest evidence, the most authoritative scripture. And specifically, this is the scripture for Kali Yuga. Right? So, and what is Srimad Bhagavatam? What is the conclusion? What is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam? It's the 10th canto, Krishna's pastimes, where we learn all about the ways that the different Rajvasis worship Radha and Krishna. But their worship is not like, dear God, please bless me, please save me, you're so great, you're so wonderful. Right? The way that the cowherd boys worship Krishna is like, hey, Krishna, come on, let's go play. Or they steal his lunch bag, right? And, aha, you'll never get it, right? Or they say, open your mouth, close your eyes, open your mouth and close your eyes and you'll get a big surprise. And then he does, and they throw a flower in his mouth and he's like, right? Or they wrestle with him. They're like, you're a wimp. Come on, I'm going to take you down. Let's go. They wrestle with him. Or like that, they play ball. They play all kinds of sports and games. They climb the trees. They chase the monkeys together. That's how they worship him. That's their devotional service. And then Mother Yashoda, how does she serve Krishna? How does she worship Krishna? Oh, little Krishna, oh, my little darling, you must be hungry. Come and take some milk from Mama, right? Or wake up, Krishna, it's time to start the day. Come, let's go. I'm going to give you a bath, right? Or Krishna, you've been playing too long. You need to eat. Just look at you. You're dirty. You need to get cleaned up. Or Krishna, I can't believe you made a huge mess. Why did you break that butter pot? I'm going to get you. I'm going to tie you up. And she chases him. And that's how she worships Krishna. That's her devotional service. And then the gopis, how do they worship Krishna? That Krishna plays his flute and they go out there. They go running into the dead of night, all dressed up. And then they have their own musical instruments too. And they're playing their instruments. And then a huge dance starts. They're singing. And they're dancing under the beautiful moonlight, and that's how they serve Krishna. That's their devotional service. They worship Krishna by singing with him, by dancing with him, by having all kinds of, by splashing in the water and like that, having so many dealings with him, speaking sweet words, teasing him, sometimes sending him away. Krishna, go away! I don't want to see you. That's how they worship him. So this is like, for people who are like, God, you're so great, you're so wonderful, you're so powerful. They can't even conceive of this kind of worship. This level of worship is just like, what? It's really hard to understand. It's a whole different mindset, right? But that's what it takes to understand Krishna. We have to understand he's very different. Krishna is not about opulence. Krishna is about sweetness, right? About sweetness, about love, about personal loving exchanges. And that's the kind of worship that Krishna wants. So Lord Chaitanya came and he taught us the process, the way to attain that highest domain, that highest abode of Goloka Vrindavan, the way to attain those highest sentiments, loving sentiments, devotional feelings for Krishna, like the Brajavasis have, is by chanting Hare Krishna. Because the Hare Krishna mantra is composed of the names of Radha and Krishna, right? Hare means Hara, who is Radha. And then Krishna is Krishna, the all attractive. And Rama is Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure. So by chanting Hare Krishna, we're focusing on Radha and Krishna. And we're invoking their love, their mercy, their presence, their blessings. And they can bestow upon us that mood of transcendental sweetness, with which we can approach Krishna in a very intimate way, a very loving, sweet, intimate way. So, so if we're intelligent, then we will worship Lord Chaitanya by chanting the holy names of Radha and Krishna, the Hare Krishna mantra, and worshiping Radha and Krishna with the goal of worshiping, eternally serving Radha and Krishna in Goloka. And it's just amazing that he gave that highest level of worship, that like inconceivable level of worship, to us Kali Yuga specimens, right? Who are lazy, unlucky, misguided, and above all, always disturbed. And yet, this inconceivable like polarity where the highest thing goes to the lowest people. We're so fortunate. And that this only happens in one Kali Yuga out of 999 cycles of the 4 yugas. And here we are, that we took birth in this Kali Yuga at this time, just 500 years after the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. It's still fresh, right? There's still places that we can go to that Lord Chaitanya went to. There's still trees that are alive that like Lord Chaitanya sat under, right? That Lord Chaitanya embraced. There's still in those places. And that, the line of the cyclic succession is so clear cut, and so aligned, so harmonious from Lord Chaitanya down. There's no philosophical disagreements, right? From Lord Chaitanya to the 6 Goswamis, all the way right down to Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. There's just so much clarity, so much harmony, and we receive the teachings of Lord Chaitanya very pure, very like fully intact. So we're very fortunate. We have to really study these things and take advantage of very practical process. Okay, and then, so why is Lord Chaitanya's divinity concealed? We talked about that a little bit. I'll just put this here. So this is a section from the purport of the next verse, actually, that they're saying, we actually see in this modern age that many foolish and ordinary persons claim to be God or incarnations or avatars, etc. There are many cheap philosophies and academies that promise for a moderate fee to make one God in a short time. Pay me some money and I'll make you God. Good deal. In America, one famous religious group promises its followers that they will all become the Supreme Lord in heaven. Such bogus preaching goes on in the name of Christianity. Thus, were Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name widely spoken of in Vedic literature, there would soon be a veritable plague of imitation Chaitanya Mahaprabhus infesting the world. Therefore, to prevent this pandemonium, discretion is exercised in the Vedic literatures in Kali Yuga. And in a sober, concealed way, the actual followers of Vedic culture are informed through the Vedic mantras of the descent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah, so this is another reason why Lord Chaitanya's incarnation is concealed. Because in Kali Yuga, like we were saying, everybody's misguided and disturbed, and people have grandiose ideas about, how great they are, and people claim to be God. So in Kali Yuga, if Lord Chaitanya had come and said, I'm God, they'd be like, oh yeah, so am I, oh, you're God, I can be God too, let's all be God then. So Lord Chaitanya didn't say, I'm God. And purposefully, if people said, oh wow, you're so amazing, I can see that you're Vishnu, I can see that you're the Lord himself, he would be like, no, Vishnu, 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 Vishnu. He would cover his ears and chant the name of the Lord to dismiss, that assumption, which was actually a recognition or acknowledgement, but he said, no. So, so very important. But now, actually, Lord Chaitanya didn't want his identity to be revealed during his appearance. But after his disappearance, then his followers, they could crack the code. They could spill the beans. They could reveal the secret that Lord Chaitanya actually is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that needed to be revealed so that we would understand this, that we would understand these the meanings of these verses in Srimad Bhagavatam and really understand the authority of the process that Lord Chaitanya gave us. So then this is the last verse. Kalim sabha jayantyarya gunagya sarabhaginaha yatra sankirtane naiva sarvaswarto bilabhyate. Those who are actually advanced in knowledge are able to appreciate the essential value of this age of Kali. Such enlightened persons worship Kali Yuga because in this fallen age, all perfection of life can easily be achieved by the performance of Sankirtan. Yeah, so we hear late in the 12th canto, we hear there are verses that say that even though the chanting of the holy names, this Nam Sankirtan is so easy, but all the benefits that are achieved by all the other processes can very easily be achieved by chanting the holy names. So all the benefits of performing meditation in Satya Yuga are achieved by chanting Hare Krishna. All the benefits achieved by performing austerities in Treta Yuga are achieved by chanting Hare Krishna. And all the benefits of worshipping the deity in Dwapara Yuga are achieved by chanting Hare Krishna. And we don't need any paraphernalia. We don't need to sit underwater for 10,000 years like they used to, right? Thank God. Yeah, we can just chant Hare Krishna and get all the benefits. So I'm going to read this purport here because it's a really sweet purport. Text 36. It is stated here that among the 4 ages, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali, Kali Yuga is actually the best. Quite surprising, right? Because when we hear the descriptions of Satya Yuga, we're like, wow, that was great. There were no sins. They didn't even need Varnashram because there was only one class and they were all just Paramahamsas. It was just the Paramahamsa class, you know? They didn't need education because they were already just like full of knowledge. You know, they were all self-effulgent and self-realized souls who were born worshiping the Lord their whole lives. And I think, wouldn't it be great to live in such a peaceful, wonderful age? No conflict, no Maya, no sin. But actually, he's saying here that Kali Yuga is actually the best. And why? Because in this age, the Lord mercifully distributes the highest perfection of consciousness, namely Krishna consciousness, very freely. The word Arya has been defined by Srila Prabhupada as one who is advanced spiritually. The nature of an advanced person is to search for the essence of life. Right? We have to be essence seekers. For example, the essence of the material body is not the body itself, but the spirit soul within the body. Therefore, an intelligent person gives more attention to the eternal spirit soul than to the temporary body. Similarly, although Kali Yuga is considered to be an ocean of contamination, there is also an ocean of good fortune in Kali Yuga, namely the Sankirtan movement. In other words, all of the degraded qualities of this age are completely counteracted by the process of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Thus it is stated in the Vedic language, Yayan krite yajan yagyais tretayam dwaparer chitam yad apnoti tadapnoti kalo sankirtya keshavam. This is what I was saying. Whatever is achieved in Satya Yuga by meditation, and Treta by offering ritual sacrifices, and Dwapara by temple worship is achieved in Kali Yuga by chanting the names of Lord Keshava congregationally. The Vedic process gradually lifts the conditioned entity out of the darkness of ahankara, or false identification with the gross material body, and brings him to the platform of self-realization, or aham brahmasmi, I am spirit soul, I am eternal. One has to make further progress to discover that although one is eternal, there is a superior eternal entity, who is the Lord himself within one's own heart, and within every atom in the material universe. So first stage of realization is that I am an eternal soul. Second stage of realization is that there is a supreme soul, and that is the Lord. The Lord who is all-pervasive and within one's heart. Beyond this second phase of self-realization, there is a third and final stage of perfection, which is realization of Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality, in his own abode. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not primarily the superintendent of this world, but rather the enjoyer of his own world, which is beyond the most fantastic dreams of the conditioned living entity. In other words, although the king or president of a country is ultimately the controller of the prison department, the king or president derives actual pleasure within his own palace, and not in administering justice to the foolish prisoners. Similarly, the Lord appoints the demigods to administer the material creation on his behalf, while he himself personally enjoys the ocean of transcendental bliss in his own transcendental kingdom. Thus, realization of the Lord within his own kingdom is far superior to the primitive understanding that the Lord is the creator of the prison of the material world. This realization of Bhagavan begins with understanding that there are innumerable Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, and that on each one of them a particular expansion of Narayan dwells with his innumerable devotees who are attached to that particular form. The central and chief planet in the spiritual sky is called Krishna Loka, and there the personality of Godhead exhibits his supreme and original form of Govinda. As confirmed by Lord Brahma, Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami. Lord Brahma also states, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Thus, love of Krishna and entrance into Krishna's planet in the spiritual sky is the most supremely perfect and exalted status of life available anywhere, at any time, throughout the totality of existence. That perfection is available in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the holy names of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Therefore, every sane man, woman, or child should deeply understand the unprecedented opportunity offered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and seriously take up this chanting process. Only the most unfortunate and irrational person will neglect this transcendental opportunity. So, Kali Yuga is actually the best age because in Kali Yuga, the situation is so bad that it forces you to turn to God, right? And then life is very short, right? So we don't have to stay very long here. In previous ages, they lived for 100,000 years, and so they had to perform their religious processes for so long, right? They would meditate for tens of thousands of years, and they would have to stay in the material world for all that time doing their religious process so they could be elevated. And even then, they wouldn't be able to go to Goloka Vrindavan because they didn't know about it. Their mood was on reverence. But here, the life is very short, so the results are going to be very quick. And the material situation is so bad that you're not going to get distracted so much into enjoying it, right? If you're when everything is nice, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, everything's nice. Oh, I think I can actually be comfortable here. No, Kali Yuga is no, everything here is frustration from beginning to end. So let's just worship. And the process is so easy. So we just chant Hare Krishna, easy process. We get this lifetime over with quick because we're going to live maximum 100 years, right? And then we go to the highest transcendental abode of Goloka Vrindavan, which wasn't even attainable in previous ages. So all glories to Kali Yuga. And of course, what made Kali Yuga wonderful is the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we have to have all appreciation and gratitude to Lord Chaitanya and to make sure that we worship him very diligently and with feeling by always chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And by attentively hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and worshipping Shri Radha and Krishna and the Acharyas. All right. Any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu. Why are some people intelligent and some people are not intelligent? Yeah. Yeah, well, it takes many births, like Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanamante, Jnanavam Prapadyate, Vasudeva Saramiti, Samahatma Sudurlabha. After many, many births and deaths, a person actually becomes knowledgeable, actually gets the intelligence to understand that Krishna is the cause of all causes and all that is, And yeah, such a great soul is very rare. So it's a journey, because we've turned away from Krishna. We've come to this world to try to forget about Krishna and enjoy ourselves without Krishna. And so we've become very covered, by the order of Krishna. Maya, Mahamaya, Maya Devi has covered our pure consciousness. So that covering has to be removed. And it's only removed by the mercy of the Lord. We can't overcome Maya ourselves, right? Daivi Gunamai, Mama Maya Duratyaya. Mam Evayam Mam Evaye Prapadyante, Mayam Etam Tarantite. So this energy, this Maya is Krishna's energy. It's very difficult to overcome. But when we surrender to Krishna, we can easily cross beyond it. So, this material world is designed to bring us to our knees in prayer, right? To bring us to surrender to Krishna. And then when we surrender to Krishna, then Krishna says, okay, Maya, thank you very much. You've done your job. You've destroyed this person sufficiently that they've realized you've destroyed all their plans to enjoy themselves without me. You've frustrated them to the hilt, and now they've totally given up on material happiness, and they're turning to me out of desperation. You can leave him alone now. I'll take care of him. I'll take them across the ocean of birth and death. I'll get them on the boat. Right? We're seeing how Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet are compared to a boat. That we get on that boat and we can cross the ocean of repeated birth and death. So, but it takes some time. It takes some time because people are so convinced that they can be happy without Krishna, and they'll try everything. Right? They try one thing, it didn't work. Oh, this. I got in this relationship. That was terrible. That was a nightmare. But, it's just because it was the wrong person. I'll find another person. Right? Or I got a job. I thought I was going to earn a lot of money and be happy, but didn't work out very well. No problem. I'll find another job. Or I tried to find happiness over here and I didn't but it's over there. I'll just move to another city. I'll move to another country. I'll, do some ritual and elevate myself to take my next birth on the heavenly planets because that's where the happiness is. I'll drink soma ras. I'll be, I'll live a long time. But everywhere, even the demigods are suffering, right? Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino arjuna. From the highest planet material down to the lowest, all are places of misery where repeated birth and death take place. So there's nowhere we can go, and no matter what type of body we have, no matter where we live, no matter who we're with, no matter what we're doing, we're never going to find freedom from misery until we surrender to Krishna. So that's what this material world teaches us. That's what it's designed for, right? And that's what he's mentioning here, that it's like a prison. The prison is designed to reform the criminal. Right? They're not meant to stay in there forever. They're meant to serve some time and think. Right? They have the time to think about what they did wrong, think about how they need to change their mentality, rectify their consciousness, do the right thing, and follow the laws. And then they can be freed. So like that, when we realize that doing our own thing and acting whimsically and breaking the laws of God is just going to keep us in the prison longer, and it's not fun in the prison, it's a miserable condition, then we start thinking, well, actually, maybe I should follow the rules. Maybe I should follow the laws of God, right? The Shastra Vidhi, the rules of the scripture, and live my life according to the will of the Lord and not against it. And then we can start to be happy. And when Krishna sees that we're sincerely trying to align our life's purpose with his purpose, then he helps us. Then he picks us up and he brings us back home eventually. Thank you. Sure. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. Well, it wasn't exactly material and spiritual, but it was just Buddhi is also spiritual intelligence, but it's just a different quality of intelligence, right? And yeah, by that intelligence, it's more of a philosophical intelligence or kind of like an intellectual intelligence, right? So your question was how do we define it? Yeah, that's hard to define. It's very abstract, right? It's not an intelligence that comes from book learning. but we can experience it. We can experience that. Actually, there's a very beautiful verse that I'm trying to. I think this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, where I think Srimati Radharani is talking, or Krishna is talking, and they're talking to each other. One of them is talking to the other one. I can't remember if it's Radha talking to Krishna or Krishna talking to Radharani, but they're saying something to the effect that about how love is the guru, is their guru, and that is the dance teacher, specifically the dance teacher. That this love is your love is my dance teacher. I think it's Krishna talking to Radha, and he's saying that your love is teaching me how to dance. Every step I take is like a dance, which I learned from you, like that. So it's kind of like what we saw, how Krishna is like a stuffed animal, like a toy in Radharani's hand. So yeah, so love is a great teacher, and Krishna's movements are in sync with the love of Srimati Radharani. So in the same way, the intelligence that comes from love means that we have so much love for Krishna, or let's be a little more practical, we have so much love for our spiritual masters, for our Diksha Guru, for our Shiksha Guru, for our mentors. We have so much love for them that that we become guided by their instructions, right? We align our life plans with their instructions because of love, because we revere them, we appreciate them so much. So, and it may not make sense intellectually, right? If we try to use philosophy to understand, the order of the spiritual master and even some of the processes of bhakti and the relationships, with Krishna's eternal associates, it doesn't make any sense, right? According to Gyan, according to rational, analytical. If you try to pick it apart, it doesn't make sense. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his pastimes, is just complete madness, right? It's not rational, right? But we can understand it through love, because it's based on love, and so that Medhi, that we can feel, we can't understand it, but we can feel that something very wonderful is there. Actually, it's interesting. One time, Srila Prabhupada was giving a class in Vrindavan, and he was talking about. He raised this question to his disciples. This is how do you know that Krishna is God? Right? What if somebody challenges you, and how are you going to convince them that Krishna is God? Or how can you know? How can you be fully convinced yourself that Krishna is God? And then one of his disciples raised his hand. He said, Prabhupada, because you said it, and you are a pure devotee. And then Prabhupada says, no. Anybody can say anything. How do you know I'm a pure devotee? People don't accept me as pure devotee. That's not enough authority. And then another devotee raised his hand and he said, because it says in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is God, right? Aham sarvasya prabhava mata sarvam pravartate. So, and Prabhupada says, no, because some people don't accept Bhagavad Gita as authority. And anyways, Krishna's saying he's saying I'm God. Anybody can say they're God. So if God's saying he's God, then it's all like cyclical reasoning. How can you really believe that? And by what authority is he able to say that he's God? So of course it's axiomatic, but people might see it like that we can't accept that. And then so the devotees were really puzzled. Oh my God, if Prabhupada's not an authority, if Bhagavad Gita is not an authority, how can we actually really be convinced that Krishna is God? And then one devotee raised his hand. He said, Prabhupada, I'm convinced that Krishna is God because when I chant Hare Krishna, I feel Krishna's presence. When I serve Krishna, I feel Krishna's reciprocation. So I'm convinced that Krishna is God because I feel that he's God. And Prabhupada said, that's the right answer. So that's Medhi, right? So we can all experience that. Like everybody sitting in this room, I'm sure, has had an experience that Krishna is God, right? You know, those moments where like something happens, it's just like, that couldn't have been more perfect. Krishna's God, right? Or you were something, situation looked like it was going to be a disaster. But then at the last moment, something came in and it turned out okay. You're like, Krishna's God, right? Or, you know, you prayed to Krishna and something happened. Krishna's God. Like everybody, I remember we used to, with the new devotees, we would kind of just, it was like a running thing that, you know, Krishna's God. We're always having these Krishna's God moments. So if you just reflect on all the different things that happen in life and all the different things that seem so unlikely but happened anyway, things that seemed so hopeless but turned out successful anyway, or you know, some material plan that you had that you thought was just foolproof, you know, it was like the perfect thing, and then it just totally, you know, got botched up. Krishna's God. Like the man proposes, God disposes, right? So and we've all had experiences that Krishna's God. And the more we depend on Krishna, the more we follow the process given by Lord Chaitanya to connect with Krishna by chanting the holy names, especially by performing all the 9 processes of devotional service, the more we can actually feel Krishna's presence. We can feel him working in our lives, and we can really experience that Krishna is God. And that's actually the most powerful preaching, right? Because like you said, not everybody accepts our acharyas, not everybody accepts our scriptures, but nobody can deny your experience. If you say, I experienced that Krishna is God, nobody can say, no, you didn't. Or I feel ecstatic when I chant Hare Krishna. No, you don't. That's just your imagination. No, you can't deny somebody's experience, somebody's feeling, right? That's their own thing. That's like very real and very deep. Of course, some intelligence is required. Some buddhi is required. We can't be totally sentimental. We also have to understand things philosophically. We also have to have transcendental knowledge, and that's why we have the scriptures, and that's why the acharyas speak, and that's why, you know, you come to classes and hear philosophy. But at the end of the day, if we have that devotion, if we have that unalloyed devotion based on firm faith, then Krishna gives the buddhi, right? That's what he says. Tesham satate yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. That those who are devoted to serving me with love, I give them the intelligence, I give them the understanding, I give them the buddhi that they need. Whatever buddhi they need, I give them so that they have what they need to come to me. Jai. So it's 8:05. I think our time is up, right? I was supposed to go till 8 o'clock. Is that right? Oh, there's a question back there. Since everybody seems very settled here, I guess we can take another question.
Hare Krishna Mataji. One question is, in first canto Bhagavatam, we have the different avatars, 6 different Purusha avatara, Leela avatara, Guna avatara.
Yeah.
So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhupada described as Yuga avatara. So when we are referring to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna himself, in which form we have to consider? Is it like we have again in the first canto it is mentioned as Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti Sabhyate. So we have to refer him as Bhagavan, or should we refer him as Paramatma? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how we should like
yeah, good question. Thank you. Yeah, so Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. He's Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. So he's Bhagavan. And he's not an incarnation of Krishna. He is Krishna. He is the original, right? There's all the different incarnations listed there in the beginning. In the second canto, there's all the... But then it says, Ete chamsa kalapumsam Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam. Right? That there are all these different incarnations. They're all portions or plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of Krishna. But Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. He's the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all these incarnations, the fountainhead of all incarnations. So that Krishna is Lord Chaitanya. Same one. Like there's a song that says, Rajendrana Nandana He, Sachi Sutta, Hoilo Se, Balaram, Hoilo Nitai. So that very son of Rajendra Nanda Maharaj, Krishna, is Lord Chaitanya. And Balaram is Lord Nityananda. So they're just, it's the same person. And in fact, Lord Chaitanya is even more enriched than Krishna because he's Radha Krishna combined, right? So yeah, originally there's one Krishna, but they separate eternally as Radha and Krishna for the sake of pastimes. But then in Kali Yuga they recombine as Lord Chaitanya. So then we have Krishna. We have Lord Chaitanya has all the authority, all the power, all the opulences, all the potencies of Krishna, all the sweetness of Krishna. But then he has all the compassion, all the love, all the mercy, all the pleasure-giving potency of Srimati Radharani. So when Krishna comes, and that's why the mood is different, because Lord Chaitanya is in the mood of Radharani. So when Krishna comes, you know, he kills the demons, and he demands, you need to surrender to me. But when Lord Chaitanya comes, he doesn't kill anyone, because he's in the mood of Radharani. Radharani is not a killer. She doesn't kill anyone. Krishna kills millions of demons, but Radharani, she doesn't kill anyone. She just bowls everyone over by her sweetness, by her beauty, by her love, by her compassion. So that's what Lord Chaitanya does. And she's so compassionate. And that's why Lord Chaitanya gives the highest thing to the lowest people, because Radharani's compassion. Radharani always helps the underdog. She supports the underdog. So we're all underdogs here in Kali Yuga. So we get all the mercy. Yeah. So hold on, let me just mention. So Lord Chaitanya, although he performs the function of a Yuga avatar, he's not technically a Yuga avatar. Right? Yuga avatars are like portions of plenary portions, that category. Right? They're like Shakya Vaishya avatars usually. So Lord Chaitanya, he comes because he wants to give people the holy names. He wants to give people the love of Vraj, and so that they can go back home, back to Godhead. And then he just thinks, oh, well, I'll come at the time when the Yuga avatar is supposed to come, and I'll do that too, but that'll just be a sideshow. The main thing is something else, right? His internal purposes. Yeah. Okay, yes.
Yeah, Mataji. For the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and different yugas, we have different colored body for the Lord
Yeah.
incarnation, right? So for Satya Yuga, it is a white bodied.
Yeah.
So there are many avatars. Which avatar is considered as a white bodied avatar?
Yeah, it's here. So now we have to go back a little bit to the beginning descriptions by Karabhajamuni. So it's in verse 20 where he asks the question. And then he says, in Satya Yuga, the Lord is white and four-armed, has matted locks, and wears a garment of tree bark. He carries a black deerskin, a sacred thread, prayer beads, and the rod and water pot of a brahmachari. People in Satya Yuga are peaceful, non-envious, friendly to every creature, and steady in all situations. They worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by austere meditation and by internal and external sense control. In Satya Yuga, the Lord is glorified by the names Hamsa, Suparna, Vaikunta, Dharma, Yogeshvara, Amala, Ishvara, Purusha, Avyakta, and Paramatma. The different names like that are listed. Because there's different names, because also the yugas rotate. So in one yuga he's known as this, another yuga he's known as that. But this white form of the Lord by one of these names, and that he teaches the process of austere meditation, internal and external sense control. Yeah, like that. So it's described there. You can read about the red one, and the black one is Krishna. Right? Yes, Govinda?
Some people think that Kalki is the avatar for this age.
No. Kalki is a Leela avatar. He's not a Yuga avatar. Yeah, he's one of the Das avatars, right? So the Das avatars are all Leela avatars. And Kalki is the 10th of the Das avatars. Yes.
I was just curious about like why did among all the US cycles, why did Krishna pick one? And what about the other people who would have been in the different other cycles? What would be their association? Because they wouldn't have an experience about Krishna. I mean, at least in this yuga and the future yugas, there would be some people. I mean, the scriptures would have some information, and we could also, I mean, we know Vrindavan, we can go there and we can experience whatever has been happened there.
Mm-hmm.
But for the people in the past yugas or cycles, there is no, I mean, expression of feeling Krishna. So how would they get closer to Krishna in those cycles?
Yeah, good question. So, yeah, it seems like they're very deprived, right? Compared to us. We got Krishna, Vrindavan is still there, Govardhan Hill is still there, the Yamuna is still there, at least a few drops of water there in that river, hopefully are Yamuna water and not all drainage water. Yeah, the dust of Vrindavan, Krishna's footprints are still there in some places. So, yeah, we have a lot of resources to remember Krishna, right? And to relish Krishna's divine Leela that he comes here to perform to attract us. So what about people from, that's a very good question. What do they do? So yeah, I mean, Krishna is very merciful. I can't say, I've never actually heard exactly what the situation is for them and how they know about Krishna. But one thing we know is that Krishna is very vigilant about maintaining the disciplic succession, right? He says that, what's that verse? Evam parampara praptam imam rajar shayo vidu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. That this supreme science is received through the chain of disciplic succession, saintly kings heard, but in course of time it's been lost, and therefore he comes, right? So this verse is leading up to his appearance. So Krishna appears when the disciplic succession is broken, when religious principles are, right, glania, that they're dharma glani, when there's a, how does he describe it? Degradation, deterioration of religious principles, he comes himself to reestablish religious principles, kill the demons. So from that, we can guess that in those ages, the disciplic succession was intact, so Krishna didn't need to appear. That the scriptural knowledge was extant, that it was solid, so people had access to descriptions from the scriptures. They had access to bona fide acharyas who could explain it to them, and so Krishna didn't need to appear. But still, there would still be a yuga avatar who would make sure that they're worshiping according to, what they're supposed to be doing during the age. But Krishna says that he comes himself under certain conditions. So based on that, we can understand that in our, a cycle of yugas, the conditions were such that Krishna had to appear personally. And that in other cycles of the yugas, conditions were different. Krishna didn't have to appear personally. The yuga avatar could do the job. I'm sure there are other reasons. So, yeah. Krishna appears in the 28th as Manvantar, 28th cycle, Yuga cycle, in the Vaivasvata Manvantar. The 7th, around noontime in Lord Brahma's day. Lord Brahma's taking lunch. Maybe he comes to steal Lord Brahma's lunch, the way Lord Brahma stole his friends while he was trying to take lunch. That's just a joke. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, but I haven't heard anything really said, so that's kind of just I'm just surmising based on what we know about Krishna's appearance. When he does appear himself, we can kind of deduce from that, like when he doesn't appear, the conditions are probably the opposite, right? Okay, good questions. Thank you so much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo.
Let's give a big round of applause for Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. That was such an amazing class. You so nicely broke down the verse and explained to us in detail. That was really amazing. And as Gaur Purnima is coming in next few weeks, it was a perfect class. Get us into the mood of Gaur Purnima. Yeah, it was really amazing. And thank you, Abhay Prabhu, for the Sankirtan before the Srimad Bhagavatam class. I really liked how you broke down the verse 11.5.34, and you said about, gave us a comparison of Lord Ram, Krishna, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That really helped us understand. And the significance of Sankirtan and chanting, I think it's just perfect for us to, get into that understanding of why we are chanting and why Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is important for us. So grateful to you, Mataji. Thank you so much for coming here and giving us your association. It was such a wonderful class, right? let's chant one time Mahamantra for Mataji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Mataji, very much. Thank you, devotees, for coming for the program today. Let's see you all tomorrow in Sunday Feast.